Hello, my name is Scott Eldridge. I'm an assistant professor in media studies and journalism. I work alongside my colleague, Professor Bart Brouwers, the professor of journalism practice in our department. Together, we coordinate the Masters in Journalism at the University of Groningen. With Bart, he coordinates the teaching of journalism practice and skills, and I coordinate the teaching of journalism theory and research. Today, I'll introduce you to the program in journalism, giving an overview of what you can expect in the program and our approach to teaching journalism here in Groningen. The Masters in Journalism runs across 3 semesters, beginning in September and concluding with an internship the following year. We provide students with a combination of theoretical understanding of journalism alongside a solid practical foundation in the skills necessary to be a journalist. Our focus is on the most contemporary discussions in journalism and journalism studies, and we place particular attention on making sense of journalism now, so we are prepared for understanding journalism in the future. It is a selective master's for students who already have a university bachelor's degree or who have taken a pre-master. I'll provide a little more information on these entry requirements later in the video. By being a selective master's, we can maintain a small cohort with a maximum of 60 students in our 2 journalism tracks, the English language master's journalism and the Dutch language master's journalistiek. This allows us to embrace a philosophy of hands-on teaching and a small, active learning environment. Particular emphasis in our program is on journalism skills, which have a real hands-on component in our teaching. We emphasize from day one journalism skills that can put you in the field straight away, working to develop an awareness of news and newsworthy stories and how to keep on top of current events. You are introduced and guided through the process of reporting on news stories, from initial research to the final end product. We see our students as junior reporters and treat them as such. So from the first week, you'll be working together in groups and on individual projects in order to develop your journalistic acumen. Over the course of the program, the hands-on teaching of journalism practice prepares you for an internship, which is the final component of this program. To give you an overview of what the program entails, this table outlines the buildup of theory and practical learning throughout the 3 semesters. As you can see, we introduce you to different theoretical and skills courses in the first semester, here in green, building up our theoretical expertise and your practical skills during the first academic year. This table doesn't exactly reflect the way the courses unfold, as some of the skills courses spread across the semesters. However, it's designed to give you an idea of the buildup of knowledge and skills and how by the end of the first year you will have established a strong foundation in both journalism research and journalism practice. Our philosophy is that by weaving together the teaching of journalism theory and journalism practice, we help educate students to be critically reflective journalists working in the field. The program is structured in such a way as to allow you to reflect in theory courses on the skills and practices you are learning in your journalism skills courses. Throughout the program, you will find complementary discussions in these 2 parts of our teaching, which allows you to think about the skills you're learning as you reflect on them in the theory courses. This really comes together in the 3rd semester when you first devote time to carrying out the research and writing up your journalism master's thesis, after which you complete an internship in a news organization. The internship can be anywhere in the world, and by the time you set foot in that newsroom, you'll be prepared to work as a journalist. In our experience, this offers a great launching point to a future career in the field. As a selective master's, there are some core requirements. First, you need to have a bachelor's degree, either from a Dutch university or an equivalent, or you need to have a pre-master in journalism from the University of Groningen. As journalism is language specific and requires good fluency, we do require students to have a sufficient score in their English language for students whose native language isn't English. There are some exemptions if you studied your bachelor's degree, for instance, in English, even if English isn't your native language. These are assessed by the admissions board. We also ask for some experience in journalism and sort of a demonstrated interest in journalism. This can be reflected in your CV. You can include writing samples as part of your application. There are a number of ways this can be achieved. For students who are at the University of Groningen, we ask that you have completed a faculty minor in journalism or journalistiek For students from other universities coming straight out of your bachelor's, we look for some coursework in journalism or related studies. Again, there are a number of ways of fulfilling this criteria. Just be sure to demonstrate in your application all of the ways that you have developed and expressed your journalistic interest. For students with a bachelor's, you first need to register via StudyLink and submit all the documents required. These are detailed on our program website, and I've provided a link here in the video. We then send you a test on current affairs and a short writing test on academic understanding. You have a week to complete these assignments. After you've done that, our admissions board, which is composed of members of our department, review all the applications. In most cases, we can make a quick decision based just on the documents you've provided. However, in some cases, we may ask to arrange a phone or a Skype interview just to follow up with questions about your application. If you have any questions about this process, or any questions about whether or not your degree or your experience qualifies for the master's, you can email studyadvicemediastudies@rug.nl, and we'll get back to you as quick as we can with an answer. Now, this is one thing worth highlighting. For students who have a Dutch HBO degree, Dutch law requires you to first earn a 60-credit pre-master degree before beginning the master's. We have 2 tracks for this pre-master, English and Dutch taught, which satisfy this legal requirement. For students from other countries with similar applied or technical undergraduate degrees, the admissions board may also determine that you need a pre-master's to be prepared for the master's program. Our goal is to admit students who are able to succeed in the program, and the pre-master is a way to ensure that that can happen for students who don't have a theoretical foundation or a strong academic component to their undergraduate degree. Who is the master's for? Well, we think of it as a degree for those who want to know about journalism and also about the world, who are really interested in reflecting on journalism through research in journalism studies. But we also want students with a range of interests. We want students who are interested in expressing themselves and have a flair for language. We emphasize that it is not an easy master's. You need to be able to deal with stress and strict deadlines as you would in the real world working as a journalist. You need to have a news interest, but maybe an unsatiable one, and if you can't get enough of the latest news in the world, this might be the right master's for you. Are you curious about the people, curious about the world, and willing to work hard to discover things about it? Well, then maybe this is the right degree for you. To give you an impression of the practical side of the master's, I'm going to introduce you to a few of the aspects of that teaching. First, one of the highlights of our program is a dedicated newsroom. This is a space that's only for students in our Masters of Journalism and our Masters Journalistique. It's equipped with computers, set up as a newsroom would be. It has editing booths and spaces to carry out reporting assignments. It's really the hub of our program and the place where students spend the bulk of their time when they're not in the field or when they're not in lectures. It's also behind lock and key. It's only accessible to students in these masters and teachers teaching in this program. As our program is uniquely balanced between skills and theory, unlike other university masters in our faculty, this space allows us to give you an opportunity to stretch your legs as journalists and to do so in a realistic newsroom environment. In the newsroom, you will learn how to find a story and what it takes to make one. You'll work in this space with your skills teacher, who serve as sort of teacher editors, and your classrooms, who serve as newsroom colleagues. It's here you'll learn what it is to write a news story, and perhaps most importantly, when not to write a news story. What doesn't rise to the level of journalism and news in our modern environment? We start our practical teaching with a foundation in writing, as the ability to write a news story flows across all genres of reporting, from print to audio to video, and to the intersections of all of these online. It's worth highlighting that we place a particular emphasis in our skills teaching on making sure you are learning journalism through a real-world lens. And our teachers are not just teachers in the department. They are all active journalists working in the field when they're not in the university classroom. We also have guest lectures who come in to teach aspects of skills from their own experience working in the news environment in different news media organizations. We also have teachers who come in either as guest lecturers as part of our core teaching, who do practical sessions where you can learn specific skills, tools, or routines that you can apply in your news work. And we have discussions with journalists who are working in the field as Q&A sessions where they get to reflect on their own work and you can ask them about their experiences. By having a small master's, we're also able to equip you, both in terms of skills and technical equipment, to get out into the field from day one. You will be introduced, for instance, to the tools necessary to do audio reporting. And in the English language masters, you end semester 1 with a live radio broadcast. We also teach you how to report using video, how to record and edit, and how to produce a compelling video for production. Here's a little video to give you a sample of what you can do when working in the newsroom.
I am currently putting the final edits on my piece on zero waste in Groningen, which is for our online magazine week for the publication that we have called The Stand. And together with my colleague here in the back, we are also writing a piece on the elections that occurred 2 days ago and sort of the very controversial outcome. And that's going to be accompanied by a small podcast. So yeah, it's been busy.
60% of the whole program is practical, and the other half is theory. What I think is great is that we have a great group of people here, and aside from working together, we just have a lot of fun.
So the program is divided in a theoretical and a practical side, and for the practical side, every once in a while we will have 4 days to work on sort of a themed publication. We had a while back, we had a radio show, but now we're doing an online magazine week, so we're doing sort of feature writing, and it runs like an actual publication. So we have a social media team, we have editors, we have sub-editors, we have reporters, and everybody can sort of do what they want: video, podcasting, writing, photography, anything they want.
If you'd like to watch that video again, you can go to the link provided here. Now, we see a number of challenges that we address in our program. One, we build up a newsy attitude. We help you to relate with your audience and to build up credibility, reliability, and relevance as a news worker, as a journalist in our contemporary media environment. We know there are 1,000 ways to tell a story, and we also know that professionalism and being a professional journalist at this time, when media channels are fully occupied by others, is a real challenge. We understand the role of technology in our modern environment. But we give you the craftsmanship, the skills, and the specialization to build up a foundation and to tell these relevant stories. One way we do this is by embracing an idea of story tooling, where we bring together the tools that technology allows and the abilities and the skills and the mindset to tell a news story, bringing them together to give you the opportunity to tell the most compelling journalistic story possible. And we emphasize that you may be daunted and have questions about working in journalism at a time when crisis and threat and the decline of news is a frequent narrative in the world. We don't think you should worry about that. Journalism is relevant, maybe now more than ever, and society needs good journalists. Our experience and our track record show that the Masters in Journalism at the University of Groningen is a real strong foundation for such a career. One reason it's such a strong foundation is that we embed from the start a critical reflection and an understanding of journalism and its role in the world through the theoretical side of the Masters. Our philosophy is that journalism skills are enhanced by an understanding of theory, research, and reflection. And just as with our journalism skills teachers, all of our theory teachers are active journalism researchers. Many of us are working in areas of contemporary challenge or contemporary research, in digital journalism and in making sense of how journalism is changing in our society. When they're not in the classroom, our teachers, whether it's a professor, such as Professor Marcel Broersma, shown here in this picture, or an assistant professor like myself, when we're not teaching you, when we're not in the lecture hall or the seminar room, we're working with news organizations, we're doing research, we're carrying out studies of what is going on in the field of journalism. This allows us to present you a number of theoretical components to the course, building up from Journalism Studies 1, which introduces you to the core theories of understanding journalism, and Journalism Studies 2, which introduces you to core methods for doing journalism research, and then in specialization courses where you refine, enhance, and intensify this understanding. As you see here, we build it up from a foundation in semester 1 to a more specialized execution of research in semester 2 to the final independent research project in the MA thesis in semester 3. To give you an example of some of the questions we tackle in our journalism theory courses, in the first course you're introduced to the theories of journalism ranging from journalism and democracy and its societal role, to the sociology of news, to the way we understand audiences in journalism research. We do this in such a way as to build up a foundation so that then, in the second block of teaching, you can start to explore these through some small studies of your own, using interviews, using content analysis, or textual visual analysis, in order to understand how journalism can be analyzed, how journalism can be studied as a field of academic research. Also in semester 1, block 2, you're given the opportunity to take a specialization course, and you choose from one of 2 courses, either Journalism and Political Culture, which I teach, which looks at research and theories and concepts of both journalism and politics and how they come together, or global journalism, which is taught by my colleague Dr. Ansgaard Heinrich, and she teaches you about how journalism is carried out around the world and how journalism about the world is reported. It's worth noting that whether you are English native speaker or English as a second language or a Dutch native speaker, you can take journalism in the English taught program. So Dutch students can choose to enroll in the English language program. And if you do speak Dutch, or if you're proficient in Dutch, whether it's your native language or a learned language, you may have the opportunity to take a third specialization, Journalistiek en Literaire Cultuur, taught by my colleague Dr. Frank Harbers. That is an option that's sometimes available. It's something worth keeping in mind. Now, as I said before, the course ends with an MA thesis, and all of the theoretical work that you do builds up towards carrying that out. I highlighted earlier how in the second semester you take a research seminar, and in the research seminar you intensify your understanding of theory and research so that you can eventually develop your own study. In the MA thesis and in the preparation for the MA thesis, we help you to design and develop and identify an interesting problem or interesting question that you want to tackle about journalism. And then in the MA thesis, you work on that problem. You tackle that area of inquiry. You carry out a study on your own with guidance from a thesis supervisor to explore and understand empirically what is going on in the world around you and what is going on in the journalism you see in front of you. This is the capstone of the theoretical side of the program. It works out as a 20 to 30,000 word thesis, and as I said, it's carried out by yourself, but with the support of a supervisor with areas of expertise similar to your own. To give you an idea of some of the recent theses and the sorts of things that you can do in your research, you could explore, for instance, whether alternative news media is leftist propaganda or right-wing fake news, as students have done in the past. Or you may want to explore a question around refugee crises and migration. As you see in the second example here, one of our past students looked at the news values of Europe and others in covering Lampedusa in 2013. Or you may want to look at some of the bigger fundamental questions in journalism, like what to do with the notion of objectivity. And in the example, the third example you see here, One student explored that in the coverage of a school shooting in Ferguson, or sorry, not a school shooting, but in the shooting in Ferguson and the aftermath and coverage in US print media outlets. Basically, anything you find interesting in the world of news and in journalism studies can be turned into a master's thesis. And we really help our students to identify and then execute an interesting study in journalism that allows them to become critically reflective journalists working in the field. If all of this sounds interesting, if this is something that really piques your curiosity, and if this sounds like the right master's for you, we look forward to you applying, and we look forward to entering our program. If you have any questions about whether or not you're the right fit or your qualifications match our criteria, you can drop a line to Study Advice Media Studies at rug.nl or rug.nl, and we'll get back to you with an answer as quickly as we can. We think it's an exciting master's, and we really enjoy teaching it, and we hope to have you on board soon enough. Thank you for your time.